What's up? What's up? This is
Yo, what's
James
good?
here, and you are on the I Just Think Different podcast. That's my podcast. That podcast represents you, the people, and that's just what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to bring is to bridge the gap between everybody. So right now, what we gonna do is we got an anonymous person here. They gonna remain anonymous. And what we gonna do is sit here and talk about what's going on today, and that's voting. Um,
Yes, sir.
I got a lot of mixed things on voting. Um, I feel like if
Okay.
we're riding in a car and it's four of us in a car, and I say, everybody that want to go to Burger King, raise your left hand. Everybody want to go to McDonald's, raise your right hand, and everybody raise their right hand. And we supposed to go to McDonald's, and I drive to Wendy's. What was the
Mm,
point of the vote? We all voted to say, yeah, let's go to McDonald's, but I went past your McDonald's and went to where I want to go.
ooh.
The point of voting is to get people on the same page, but everybody ain't gonna be on the same page. So the ones who
Right.
disagree, we're gonna go with the majority party. That makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, we could get that, and we can make moves with that. We can move forward with that, but it doesn't have to be a party for that to happen. Like we can, agree to disagree, and right is right and
Right.
wrong is wrong. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
throughout history and the way things was brought up, things got a little skewed, and it was no
Right.
longer about that. It became about power and democracy in this republic that
Right.
we in, and it became um takeover and about money, all about money and greed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what I see, because actually people make the money, because if you not going to
Right.
work, you ain't making no money, and whoever you working for ain't making no money. So that's a money
Mm-hmm.
game. Meanwhile, they print
Yeah.
off money every day, but it's a shortage in coins, and it's a shortage in things of that nature. But what I'm trying to figure out is how, if they making it, that's aside from what I'm talking about
Right.
in voting, but that goes into the whole reason of the confusion, which I feel is really truly finance. Because if you extract finance,
Mm.
we dealing with a one-on-one human being. We level playing field at this point, because we ain't fighting towards me trying to
Yep.
get anything other than how can I be of assistance to you? Why do I need to be assistance to you? I don't
Right.
know you, nor do I care to know you, is an attitude, right? But if
Right.
let's say your grandma was in a tight situation and she needed help across the street, and everybody just blew past her and almost hit her, or driving past in a car, you would feel some way like, all y'all just watched my grandma just struggle across the street and then nobody help.
Right.
You wouldn't want that to happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you want that to happen to any other human being? Why does it have to be turned up to a grandma level? Why can't it just be the person next door, the person you live
Right.
with, anyone? You see what I'm saying? But we
Yep.
raised, and some people raised to just straight up hate. When you look at a kid,
Mm-hmm.
kids just play. They're not looking at each other like, oh, you some sort of different color, so I don't want to play with you. Kids are just playing. They don't even know what's going on. Nowadays, things are a lot different. So go back to the voting. People died for us to have a right to vote,
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that, definitely, because they
Mm-hmm.
knew what they was fighting for. It seems
Yeah.
today people really don't know what they fighting for. See, they knew that it could
Yeah.
be death in that situation. You know it's death now, but
Yeah.
you're not taking that. You're like, you know
Right.
what? I walk straight to the line of it, but then if it turn up, let me turn back around. And what's the point of all that? Like, why does somebody have to die or violence has to be inflicted into a situation where all we trying to do is just get on the same page? That's really what voting is, because everybody's not going to agree with everybody. You got 50,000 people. All 50,000 people aren't going to agree. So what do you do with the people who don't agree?
Right.
Well, let them go figure it out for themselves. You can only work with what you got, and you only working with the people that agree with you. All right. No one agrees. So now you solo dolo by yourself. And what you got to do, you either got to go with them or you can go find your own route. And your own route ain't easy. It's never easy by yourself.
Right.
It's always better with two. So yeah, let's vote and get over here and be with the people. But the problem is when you got so many people, it's always a rise in power. It's always someone that wants to take over, because 50,000 people sitting here don't have no direction. So everybody want to lead, but don't nobody lead. What I'm saying is, if I'm up, my plan don't make it. Cool. All right. B, you're up. B don't make it. C, you're up. C don't make it. D, you're up. D don't make it. We just keep going until we find something that makes it. We don't just say, well, your plan didn't work, dog. That was stupid. And then, cuss you out for it and say, you know what? You didn't know what you was talking about. You didn't know what you was doing. You didn't know anything. What do we really know, though? All I was trying to do was try. At least the point was I tried to come up with something. I didn't say I had the answer. I just said I tried. But you telling me my stuff was foul as if you had the answer. You ain't got the answer either. We don't have the answer. So at least come up with something that we can try to attempt to get better. That's what people did over time. Trial and error.
Yeah.
So if you don't learn from your mistakes and try to make it better, then how you gonna move forward if we sitting here talking about the mistake that I made all day? All right, that's over. Like, let's go on to the next thing. We have to.
Yeah. I think
And
to to add to what you're saying, because a lot of what what you're saying is very profound, and it needs to be emphasized further, that there's a lot of polarization going on right now that is creating a lot of division. And with that, information is skewed on so many levels. It's like you don't really know what to believe unless you actually do the research and you really fact check, because a lot of what you're taking in could be based on a lot of bias. And with that, you know what has been going on for some time now, as far as there being an urgency, or there's been being a push for people to actually go to the polls and actually exercise their right, for something that's been hard fought, for them to actually give their input, and have some level of say so within regards to the politics. It's something that shouldn't be taken for granted, but it is, because of the lack of urgency to do so, unless there's a huge means to do it. And so it's interesting that this year, with what's been going on right now, with the police brutalities, the social injustices, and the many accounts of systemic racism that's happening, it's actually called for more people of color to be more proactive in terms of vocalizing and exercising their God-given right. And so with that, it's truly our time now to be able to create the change that we've been wanting. Um, in fact, if we look at 2016, there was a great number of people who did not vote. And if we can even imagine the large numbers, if we turn that around and actually, just to put it in perspective, it would have been a much different outcome than what it was. And that was because of people not taking that initiative, that extra step. And so with that, it's like, why would you not? After what's been going on right now, with this whole pandemic situation, with regards to our healthcare, with regards to so many factors with businesses, why would you not? Why would you not go and be the change that you're wanting? And you can only do it in numbers. And in fact,
Right.
this is exactly why the whole democratic system works, is because it's the people who ultimately create the change. It's not the systems. Even though we have systems in play, it's at the end of the day, it's the people who exercise the power.
Right.
And there's strength in numbers. And if anything, this whole election is critical because it can actually render the change that we want. If we take that extra step, if we go that extra mile and take into account the sincerity and the importance of this election, I think my big takeaway in all of this is the fact that, and I've had conversations with a number of people who have varying opinions. One being that the reason why they would choose one particular candidate over another stems from the fact that that candidate represents the lesser of the two evils. And so when I say that, I'm talking about from a very Christian perspective that is rooted in biblical theology, that their ideals are more in line with scriptural context. Whereas I look at the other flip side of it, is the fact that you could have so many things in play, but if you don't have charity and love for people, then what kind of system are you running? And so with that, I feel like regardless of who you choose, it should be a matter of two things. One, what are the ideals that they represent? And two, the longevity in terms of their guidelines and their plans. Like, what is it going to amount to in the long run? Because you're not voting for the president. You're voting for their ideals, for what they stand for the systems that will be put into place, which is going to shape the structure of what's going to happen between now and 4 years from now.
Right.
So you're not voting for the president. I mean, you are, but you're voting for their ideals, for what they stand for. And I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what these two candidates represent, because there's a lot of talks, but I think the big question is, what are we doing about the current system with healthcare, with the pandemic situation we're in? What is the overall goal with that? We're still in the pandemic. There doesn't seem to be a lot of answers as far as how we're going to get out of this thing. It's all based on cases. It's all based on guidelines and things that we should do, like social distance. Yeah, but we're in a critical time right now where we need answers, and we're not getting them. We're left in the dark, and I don't think everything is going to be answered overnight. But I feel like with the right strategist or the right leader who not only cares about the systems in play, but actually about the people,
Right.
who is understanding about human decency, human relations, the who understands the plight of people of color, who truly understands that it's not just you know a me thing, but it is a we thing. Um,
Right.
I think then we would be going in the right direction. Um, so with that, it really is left to the individual to step up and be the change that they want.
My thing with when it comes to both parties is that this is the United States. And just off top, how are you united if you got two sides? Just things I've
Yeah,
been thinking of since I was a kid. They just got two sides to one organization, which is us, the United States, but yet it's two sides. So then one side can be stronger than the other side, but the other side can still come in, but the stronger side still makes all the rules. But yet
yeah,
the rules that get made, regardless of what side it comes from, what I'm saying is those are human beings in those situations that should know
yeah,
right from wrong. So when you make up
yeah,
things in your mind that you think is going to benefit someone, is it really benefiting them? Because you felt it was benefiting them. So I'm going to sign this paper and write this off. Ultimately, I feel like everyone
yeah,
wants to be equal and everybody just wants a fair share at
yeah,
everything because we are human beings.
yeah,
When you
yeah,
look at the president or whoever signs legislation, let's say this amount of people is owed $500 million. And we're gonna sign off on that. And they're like, no, we're not giving up $500 million to those people over there. We good. But we'll sign 500 million to this space program,
yeah,
and we'll take another quarter of that and divvy it over here. But no, we're not gonna give no money to them. So now a person is coming up saying, man, all their life, like, man, I'm gonna make sure we get that money. So go vote me in. So that person now gets
mm,
voted in because he's going to get that money, right?
yeah,
And he gets there like, all right, I'm here now. It's time to give up that money. And then people still like, nah, we ain't giving it up. So
yeah,
now I put all my work in my community, told my community that I was gonna put them on. We was finna fix everything and we was finna go get this money. That keep term I keep putting in there is money because that's like the foundation of everything, right? But
yeah,
what does it take for you to just go knock on your neighbor's door and help them immediately right now? You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
Well, we gotta wait
yeah,
on a money system to come through here for us to be able to help ourselves. See,
yeah,
if I was
uh,
panhandling every day,
yep,
people be looking at me like I was crazy. Like, yo, I'm not gonna give you no money. You look like a grown adult who can go get you a job. That's what I would get told.
exactly.
Like, you need to go get off your butt and go get you a job. And then I'm telling you, well,
Yeah,
I can't get a job. And then you looking at me like, oh
yeah,
well. You see what I'm saying? You're not looking at me saying, you know
yeah,
what? You need a job. Then guess what? I'm finna put you to work right now. That's what I'm about to do. You about to come over here and
yeah,
do this. I'm about to pay you $5 right now to rake this grass. And you're like, oh, $5. I don't know. That $5 ain't gonna get me nowhere. There's two things that has to happen there. You got to realize help came, and now your decision to take the help is based on this finance that you stuck on, instead of being stuck on the work being put in to say, you know what, I can humble myself and just go rake that up. Because here's the thing,
Yeah.
this is where the blessing comes.
Yeah.
You humbling yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you go rake that yard.
Yeah.
Now, somebody driving by and seeing you raking the yard, my man, come do mine. I got 20 for you. But see, you missed it because you looked at the 5 and said, nah, I don't want to do
Right.
that for no 5. So you missed out on the opportunity that was waiting on you, but you choose
Yeah.
not to go that route. So now you got to figure out another route.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, it's all in the help that we do for each other. Like, I can't allow you to fail. We failing. That's it.
Mm.
We failing or we making it. It's we, us at all times. It's never a I. I definitely should be concerned with myself. But if I'm self-consumed with myself and keep telling myself, well, man, I never get it together, or I ain't got it yet, or I feel down, or I don't feel right, or any excuse that I come up with not to be motivated to do anything, why
Yeah.
can't you look to the next person and say, you know what? Well, I got so much going on over here. Let me at least try to put some shine light on this person's situation, because I definitely could be
Right.
worse. Because
Yeah.
it's people overseas that's living on concrete,
Yeah.
and that's just it.
Yeah.
And they got to walk miles just to
Yeah.
get water. You can walk into a kitchen or a bathroom.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
things are different globally. You know, it's all
Yeah.
about your mindset and how you choose to view things. And you should definitely always choose to
True.
view things with a positive mindset instead of viewing things with a negative connotation, because it's easy to fall into the
Right.
negative. But negative don't exist until you
Easy.
give it that
Very.
power. When you give it the power, then it
Right.
consumes you. Check it out. You should already know
Yeah.
that words hurt. Why? Because they've been telling you from a kid, hey, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They tell you that was a lie, right? Because they say words do hurt. The Bible tell you that. They say, you know what? Watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Watch that tongue, because it cuts like a sword. Watch
Right.
it. You got to be conscious. Think before you speak. Oh, there we go. There we go. So how did that negative stuff even come out? Oh, because you wasn't thinking. You
Right.
said what you wanted to say because you just said it. Even if you felt a negative way and you felt the way about somebody, why not still give them a positive situation and then take your negative on and keep it in yourself and scream and
Yeah.
holler in the car or wherever you go and say, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Don't damper the mood on, everything else. And that's a hard thing to do. Don't get it twisted. I'm not no
Yeah.
saint or nothing like that. Like, yo, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But I'm just saying steps that we could do and things that we could do to better each other, and move culture forward, is taking the
Yeah.
proper steps and accountability to say, you know what, my
Yeah.
bad, I did mess up. And you know what? Well, let's make it right. A lot of people get into situations where we have a conflict, and now we beefed out. We beefed out for a time.
Right.
And I feel like uh, the top peak of beef is death, because now
Yeah.
we warring at each other, and death is at the end of that. But if your
Right.
loved one you got into an argument with and they suddenly died, you probably feel some type of way, like it was unfinished business. Like, I was mad, but I didn't get a chance to say I was sorry. I didn't get a chance to do any of
Right.
that. But see, you was holding on to that attitude and you was holding on to all that anger when 20 minutes, hours should have
Yeah.
went by. You should have been like, you know what? I'm calm down now. Let's talk this
Right.
out. Let's talk this out. Even in most
Yep.
extreme things, and I know it's hard. You catch somebody cheating, they lied on you, they stole from you, shot you, killed you. I mean, whatever you think, the worst thing you can think of, try to look past that and realize and put yourself in a situation of, you know what, me throwing trash on the ground could have been equivalent to somebody's slap in the face or getting spit at or whatever.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? The point is you did something that was wrong. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? We all are guilty of that. We
Yeah.
all do things that are wrong. But how do we get past the wrong is talking that out. So that goes back into this voting when a particular when white people didn't want black people to sit here and vote. But check it out. If black people spend more money than everybody, they spend trillions of dollars in spending, right?
Right.
That means that's a large. I haven't heard of a trillionaire. So that means they spending more money than it sounds like what's even available. We spend more
Yeah.
money than what's available. Is what it sounds like, right? To even put a name
True.
on it that people don't. There's no trillion nothing air out there, right? There's not even a company that's
Right.
making $1 trillion, right? But we spending $1 trillion. That's crazy. So imagine if
Right.
black people stop buying from everyone else and then bought from their own, right? That gets said all the time, but check it out. I just started. Let's just say I just this podcast. I just started this podcast. You gonna invest in that? You like, nah, I don't know him. I don't know his topics. I don't want to hear him talk. I don't want to do none of that. But at the same time, it started. It was a start, and you got to see it through to the end. So it might be watered down in the beginning, but in the end product is what you want to see. And it gets better by you coming to a tent. It gets better by you building it up, putting different things and different topics into play. It gets built up by your attitude and visuals that you show. But that don't happen if I don't go do that or find resources to do that. It just remains the same. And if you remain the same, people like to call you content, right? Nobody really wants to be content,
Yep.
but we fall into that, not even knowing that we content. How you know you content? Well, I've been trying to do this for a year. That was content. Now I got started. You was sitting there lazy, like all this product was sitting here, but it wasn't getting used. Now it's getting used. So now that's me moving forward, trying to do something that I've been trying to do. And I'm doing it because I'm sitting here talking to you, an anonymous person, live here in my room on my
Yeah.
own equipment. You see what I'm saying? And at the same time, this equipment could be equivalent to somebody's clothing line, shoe line, uh, you know, um, book, radio show,
Right.
anything. Like we got the power to do everything. It's nothing that
We
we
do.
can't do, but we have to have those strengths and backing for that. And you can't just jump on somebody back when they already on, because then a lot of people saying you weren't with me in the gym. That's basically saying you weren't with me when I started. But you want to
Yeah.
see me when I'm in the penthouse. You want to come through, pop the bottles, and do all that. Everybody want to party, have a good life. But
Yeah.
what is that at the end of the day? Like, wouldn't it be better to just like have
Exactly.
everybody come out? Like, if I got $50,000 right now, would it just be cool for me to go get a car? Yeah. I'll go get a car. I got 50,000. Or is it more better to take that 50,000 and say, you know what, I'm take this and I'm gonna get, set up some accounts for some people and invest in these people and build them up. You see what I'm saying? Think
Yep.
about
It,
all the
yeah.
businesses and millionaires that's millionaires. Like you can live off $6 million for the rest of your life, right? So if you a multiple millionaire past $6 million, I feel like that's all extra money, right? Then you could take that and reflip that into something else to keep that going. If that's the theory on it, I ain't the smartest man in the world, but that's been told.
Right.
You can live off $6 million, right? But there's a whole bunch of millionaires and there's plenty of billionaires out there, but that's their money, right? But how you get money?
Yeah.
From either working or somebody working for you, right? That's still a team.
Yeah.
Like you still need people. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that's a millionaire,
Yeah.
if it wasn't nobody working for them or wasn't nobody getting a product, they wouldn't be that. But you still gonna be that human being. You
It
still
just
gonna need
it
help. You still gonna need to move
exactly.
forward in life. You can see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
when you do what you're supposed to do, the money comes. Money should never
James.
be the root of anything. Money should never be the
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
base. What should be the base is the positive energy that you invested in putting in someone's life. And people fail every day.
Exactly. James, it all exactly. Yeah. So James, you mentioned two things, and I think just to take into account everything you just said right now, the two big things you mentioned were accountability and the whole notion of basically teaching. I mean, if you take the old saying, "Each one teach one," right?
Definitely.
And you take into account what exactly accountability is, which is to hold one to a higher standard and to just kind of push one to be at a higher level than what they are. Um, it all amounts to whether or not you're teachable or you're coachable. A lot of people can't, you know, there are people that, I mean, quite frankly, they don't know how to take direction. They don't know how to take advice, good advice. I mean, not to say that all advice is good, but there are some things that people have to kind of learn, you know, and it may not come easy for a lot of people to just come, to be able to accept something from another person that would actually prompt them to move outside of their comfort zone, right? Because being out of one's comfort zone, it's not easy. You know, there's a lot of risks to be taken into account. Um, there's a lot that is seemingly asked of the person when moving out of their comfort zone. So with that, um, with the whole notion of the election, I feel like this is kind of pushing people to think, especially one who doesn't necessarily like politics. You're seeing full circle that regardless of whether of the candidate you're going for, it all comes back full circle. It affects you in one way or another, right? And so with that, there is this impetus that you should care, right? And so with that,
Right.
if you have somebody that's trying to hold you to a higher standard or hold you accountable for your beliefs and your actions, I mean, it would behoove one person to actually just to listen, at the very least listen. But I feel like with the whole world being in the state that it is right now, just filled with a lot of toxicity and a lot of polarization, there's a lack of listening that's happening. Everybody wants to have their own voice. Everybody wants to be heard. Everyone wants to put in their own 2 cents of what they believe. You have one people believing this, another people believing that. You have people that don't even believe that in Black Lives Matter. They're saying all lives matter. There are people that believe that we should wear masks. There are other people that don't believe we should, wear masks. There's varying opinions, varying beliefs. Um, so with that, how can you hold people accountable when they don't even come to terms with what you are even trying to present to them, you know. Um, you mentioned uh, the notion of work, right? How one is presented a task to do something for $5. That person's looking at it like $5, you know, like is the amount of work that I'm doing worth that? You know, and that's the mentality a lot of people have. They're saying, well, if I'm good at this and I have this skill set, why would I settle for something less than what is asked of me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
pay me what I'm worth, you know? That's the
Mm-hmm.
mentality. Is that they want to be paid more. They don't want to turn out to be like Scottie Pippen, who was criminally underpaid to play for the league, right?
Right.
Or let's say a high profile actor or actress who is getting so much less than even their own co, you know, than like a co-actress or co-star or somebody that's in the same movie that doesn't have as many lines. So like, why is it that that person's getting more money and I'm one of the leads? You know, that doesn't make sense, right?
Again,
So you mean
that
to tell
all
me a
boils down
cameo,
to
you know,
finances, and that boils down to an ego thing,
it
because now
is.
my
It
ego
is.
is not allowing me to let you make that type of money, because I'm concerned now with your pockets. And they tell you all the
Yeah.
time, don't be counting my money, don't be counting my money, right? That's what they told.
Yeah.
Hey, don't count my bag. So now that you know my bag and you know I'm getting more, um, here's the thing. A job may have a posting saying we're going to pay you $14 an hour last
Yeah.
week. Everybody jumped on like, man, $14 an hour. How we going to jump on that? The next week, they got that same job posting for $24 an hour. And now people getting hired at 24 hours an hour. I mean, $24 an hour, but people already got hired for 14, but we doing the same work. So now the people that's making
Yeah.
14 looking at 24 like, wait a minute, man. Like y'all getting paid more. Y'all should be doing more. When the mistake got made, because regardless of pay, you
Yeah.
always should be working like you're working for God. You always should be putting in
Yeah.
100%. You always should be available to help in any way that you can. But see, that money will cloud your
Yeah.
vision.
I'm so
And
glad
then
you
now you
mentioned
don't want
that.
to
Yeah.
work, because now I'm like, no,
Yeah.
heck no. I ain't
Yeah.
no. I'm worth way more, right? But are you really
Right.
worth more than
Yeah.
helping out the person next to you? That's a strong ego to have, to say that like you, that's basically saying you better than,
Yeah.
the next man, and you not. Nobody is over anybody. No
Exactly.
human being is greater than the next human being. We
Exactly.
are all equal,
Yeah.
regardless of what's told to you. If you listen,
Exactly.
you
Yep.
are an equal human being to the next human being, to the
Yeah.
next human being. Though
Yeah.
in this society we live
I
in,
think
people will tell you
I think
different.
people. It, yep. Yep. Exactly. And I mean, if you look at the definition of work, right? It's in physics, work is equal to force times displacement. Force being the amount of effort put into a certain task, right? And displacement is the duration, you know, over a period of time, right? So
Right.
I think what people tend to get wrong or is that they equate force or effort to work. And it's only a component of work because regardless of how much effort you put into something, work is always going to be constant. Work is always going to get done. You know, whether it takes you, you know, a long period of time or short period of time, at some point the work is going to be completed, right?
Exactly.
So I think with people, they tend to put a price tag on work, you know, they tend to put a clock on work, and they try to make it seem like if you're not doing X, Y, and Z amount of force, then you're not doing any work, which is not true. It's just that some people are have a lot of, are effortless but get the work done, and then there are some people that put a lot of time into it and they still get the work done. But at the same time, work is going to be done, right? I mean, that's not to say you should, be lazy and just put it off, right?
All right.
But at the same time, who's to say, when you should and shouldn't do it? Unless, you're under constraints and, there's something that's been asked of you to do within a certain amount of time. That's understandable, right? Like you have deadlines. You got to do this by a certain time
Right.
frame, or else, there's
And that's
consequences.
understandable, like you said, right?
But exactly. But if you are on your own schedule, that's another thing, right? Where you
All
don't
right.
have to place yourself under these constraints. You're working according to the parameters that you yourself set. And with that, there's very little say-so of how you can do that. And I think that's why a lot of people try to do their own thing and have their own business, right? But what fails is the fact that they don't have a structure and they don't have a sense of control. They don't have set boundaries, and they don't adhere to those boundaries.
Yeah.
Because you are your own boss, right? And we like to be the boss, or a lot of times, right? We like to have say-sos. We like to have a lot of control. But I feel like with that, if you don't have a certain structure, then there's a lot of uncertainty to be had. And so when we look at this election, right, we're looking at the two candidates. Like, what are their structures that they have in play, right? We have one candidate who is very business savvy, and another candidate who understands more of the needs of the people, right? Both are pioneers in their own craft. Regardless of what you think of them personality-wise, you cannot negate the fact that they're skilled at what they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in right now. Regardless of how you feel about them, right?
Right.
They do offer great viewpoints, and you can't deny that. However, the systems that are in play tend to favor a particular group while diminish another. And so with what's been happening right now with systemic racism being pushed more to the forefront as a result of the issues that's been happening right now, there is a bigger call as far as what is going to actually take place that will address and kind of assuage the pain that people of color have experienced within this bracket of time with this pandemic, with with what's going on right now, since I would say April. April is when we started having these lockdowns in
Yeah.
California, and it seems like it's just a cyclical thing that's happening right now. So with that, I feel like there is an even bigger push for people to kind of reach out for each other. Um, the whole notion of accountability is strong because even though there's a lot of social distancing, it doesn't stop one from picking up the phone, texting, checking up, And so with that, I feel like accountability is to be had there, because you want to make sure that your loved ones are okay, right?
Right.
especially if you're not in close proximity or you can't see them on a regular basis as a result of the distance. You do want to make sure that they're okay. You know, like for me, I check up on my nieces and my nephews and my cousins and my loved ones, my family, my brothers and sisters, my mom, you know, whole family, just to make sure they're
Yeah.
okay because we're in different areas, right?
Right.
And so with that, you know, you with that with in doing that, you open yourself up to receiving the information that they have to present to you, right? Sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news, but ultimately you are making the decision whether or not you want to be present. And I think with what's going on right now, there's a push for people to be more present in each other's lives, right? And
Right.
so with that, there's a lot of vulnerability to be had, because you're opening up yourself to a bevy of information that's just going to be presented to you in conjunction with what's happening outside of the world. And a lot of people, not to generalize, but it's left to the individual to make that decision whether or not they want to be a part of this, you know, this modicum of information, or if they want to just kind of push themselves away and just kind of say, you know what, this is kind of too much right now. It's overwhelming. And, you know, they resort to kind of distancing themselves from society, you know, and
I
even
mean,
their loved ones because they want to not be bothered, you know.
this whole year,
But then again, is it selfish to? Yeah, I think it bottles down to a lot of fear, um,
and I'm saying you
fear
got to remove that fear by just
of intimacy.
loving
I
on
think
each other, man. You just gotta be cool with everybody, even if you don't like
yeah,
them. Again, I keep
yeah,
going back to stuff that was told to me as a kid in elementary school, man. Middle school, high school, like you was told there's gonna be some people that you ain't gonna like or want to work
yeah,
with, but you
yeah.
still gotta work with them. They tell you fake it
You
till
have
you
to.
make it. What does that mean?
You have to.
That means I don't like my situation, but
Yeah,
I know I gotta do what I gotta do to
yeah,
get through this situation. So like, why do
yeah,
we understand these things when it applies at certain times instead of just applying it? Period. We don't
yeah,
apply it 24/7. We apply it when it's necessary.
yeah,
I'm saying we have to apply faith at all times because that's all you got. And the problem
yeah,
is that I see is that people lack real true love because it's hard to understand what that is. If I'm a child and let's say
yeah,
I was adopted or I was in a
yeah,
household that I just seen all type of terrible things.
yeah,
I don't see that as love because I'm always getting abused. I'm mentally screwed. I mean,
yeah,
households are
yeah,
growing up like that, and then you get grown and you lash out, you don't know what to do, but you forget the biggest thing, and that's you woke up.
yeah.
You woke up.
And
So you
yeah,
had a chance, you know what I'm saying, to make things better even in a bad situation. And I'm talking current. I'm not
yeah,
talking nothing past. I'm not talking nothing 400 years ago, 60 years ago. I'm talking right now, 2020, currently. And where we at
yeah,
is, I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with traumatizing things. I'm pretty sure that's
yeah,
across the whole board. But I'm saying, how do you get away from dealing with those type of things? Well, they tell you go to therapy, you can sit and talk to somebody, but you talking to a person that you're
yeah,
paying, you know, that may offer you some good or not, or it just let you talk. That's a venting space. Let me go ahead and get this off my chest. I don't feel comfortable telling
yeah,
XYZ, but I can tell you,
yeah,
So the
Yeah.
step in that was
Yeah.
at least talk
It,
to
it's a
someone to
healthy
get that
outlet.
out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Let
Yeah.
me just talk to somebody to get this out.
Yeah.
That's the step. Let me talk to somebody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
Okay, you can talk to God at any time, you
Exactly.
know. But when you talk to God, you got to believe who you talking to,
Right.
and you got to have faith in who
Yeah.
you talking to. You can't just be
Yeah.
like, "All right, God, make it work, make it happen." Pool,
Yeah.
poof.
You
All
know,
right, he ain't do nothing.
it's
He ain't real.
interesting you mentioned therapy, right?
Yeah,
You mentioned therapy, and I feel like me growing up, I never really understood the importance of therapy. You know, I've always seen therapy in a very negative connotation as far as like, oh, this person's just trying to take advantage of you, manipulate you mentally. You know, it was always a fearful thing to me as a child. You know, I never really saw therapy as. I mean, because I mean, you're growing up in the hood. You've, as you mentioned before, you've experienced a lot of things. You're not one to really just open up about a lot of things to like a person that's trying to, you know, you're paying to be your friend, right? I mean, at least that's the mentality you have. Like you experience a lot of trauma, you experience like a lot of hurt. You know, you're always told to just toughen it up, right?
all right.
You're always told to hold it in and, you know, to man up, you know, deal with it, right? But I think right now, especially what's going on right, it really allows you to just understand the importance of actually having a healthy outlet. You know, having someone that you can talk to, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a therapist, but just somebody like a counselor or a loved one, just to really communicate how you're doing, and just to
Yeah.
really let them
At the end
know,
of the day,
you
what you
know,
saying is,
what's on your mind, because
you know,
it is
get it out.
healthy to actually talk
You
about
got to get
these
it out.
things and
I
have
don't know how to get it
conversations.
out. All I know how to
You
do is
have to
lash
get it
out.
out. Yeah.
All I know how to
And
do is
and
lash
and
out.
and, and
I'm
I
lashing.
think it exactly. Yeah. You don't want to hold it in. You want to have a very healthy perspective, you know, healthy conversation as far as what's on your mind, what are your fears, what are you dealing with, what are some of the issues that you need to heal from, and then take it from there. Because if you don't have a roadmap or a plan, you know, it's like you're in a state of disarray. You're in a state of confusion. You're lost, and you need somebody to kind of to guide you. You need a mentor. You need somebody, you know, that you can look up to. And right now, what's going on with the world and being in a pandemic, I feel like for me personally, I have like a lot of close people in my life, you know, a lot of mentors, a lot of, you know, uh, guidance counselors that I've, you know, known in the past who are still present in my life. And I'm thankful God that they're there, who I can actually talk to, you know. I have like, you know, several pastors in my phone that I can call and just, you know, ask for prayer. And I think that's what's great is that in you opening yourself up to be able to have these conversations, it frees you from a lot of unnecessary weight, you know. So I feel like there's so much to just take in, you know, with what's going on right now, that why add to your plate, you know? And I get it if you're working, and sometimes, you know, work, the stresses of work can overwhelm you, but why add to that by trying to take it on alone, because if anything, we're not alone, you know. As a sociologist, I've studied sociology. I learned that sociology is the study of social interactions and social institutions and the phenomenon that governs them, right?
All right.
And sociology dictates that it's not just exclusive to oneself, but it is part of an ongoing phenomenon that is experienced by so many people. We're all part of a shared collective, right? So the issues that you're facing, it's not just exclusive to you. That it can be identified across the board with other people. So you're not alone in what you're feeling. Um, and in understanding that, there's this assurance that there is help available for you, you know, regardless of what you're going through. It may take work, a lot of work, you know, but what's beautiful about the work is that there's no timetable on it. There's no saying that you need to be fixed, right, in a certain amount of time for you to feel normal. No, work is ongoing, you know. So when you do the work, you know, when and going to see therapy, having these healthy conversations, you're bettering yourself, and this is how you heal, right? And I feel like a lot of healing is what's needed in the world right now because a lot of people are hurting, you know, with regards to a
Right.
lot of disappointments, with a lot of businesses that are closing down, you know, with the whole economic situation, with people experiencing loss as a result of COVID, you know.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of healing that needs to be had, right? And what better way to do that than opening up yourself to having these dialogues with the people that you care about the most that are in your life, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's just a stepping stone right now for a lot of people who are trying to advance on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on a psychological, what have you, social. It's all relative. It's all connected. One isn't separate from the other. But I think the key thing you mentioned about accountability and about, um, you know,
So
and,
let's
and
take
about
it on that
therapy,
and flip it back
that's
to
that's that's huge.
voting and say both parties have to be held accountable for, what they say and what they come through on. That's true in people's eyes, right?
Absolutely.
And what I'm saying is, regardless of who's in, you always got to come through on what you're saying, but that doesn't necessarily always happen because of politic play.
Yeah.
For instance, um, sports. I feel like sports, professional sports, you never really know how talented a person really is in professional sports because it's somebody that's involved that dictates a play, and that's the ref. So the
Yeah.
ref can call it correctly and things be right, or they can miss the call and it goes south, and they can keep missing calls and you never really know. But if you take those same people and you put them out in the Y somewhere, or on a football field at some high school, you really get to see who good and who not because it's no restriction. It's street ball. Like you can't take away someone's athleticism, but you can take away
No.
their skill set by cheating them in a sense, or cheat the
Mm,
team. You see what I'm saying? And that comes from,
yeah.
again, like I said, officiating. If all of that is good, if all officiating is good and things go the way they're supposed to go, then the right person is supposed to win. That's voting. If all the ballots actually got to where they were supposed to get to, and all the votes got accounted for, then you would actually see, who the real victor was. But far as I see, the last 5 elections have been some type of ballot issue. I remember it was a ballot issue with
Yeah.
Bush Gore. It
Yeah.
was a ballot issue with Hillary Clinton. It was a ballot issue last year with
Yeah.
Russian interference or whatever they were saying. And a year prior to that, it was a
Hmm.
ballot situation. But what's also true
Yeah.
about the presidents is that all of them from George Bush Sr. to
Yeah.
Barack Obama all did 8 years, and Sr. did 8
Yeah.
because he was the vice president for 4. And then he rolled over to being a president. So you did a whole 8-piece. Then Clinton came in and did an 8-piece, and he didn't have some situations even happen, a sexual allegation that happened. So it was some mess going on with him, right? Then you get
Yeah.
Junior Bush in there, and then he's in there, and the country changes. Boom, 9/11
Yeah.
happened, and we ain't been the same since. But he was
Yeah.
there, and they
In
hated him.
general,
They hated
in
him bad.
general,
They
politics
wanted
is,
him out.
yeah.
Like oh man, when even the towers got hit, when he was with some kids reading a book, I was looking at him like, "What are you doing?
Right.
Like, what's going
Yeah.
on?" Like,
In
hated him,
general,
right?
politics is never fair game. There's
So if
always,
it's never fair game in a
especially,
politics, how am I supposed to win? How do my people come up?
especially with regards to the ballots. There's is a huge margin of error that is far vast. I think that's the problem. Is that one, the whole electoral college is confusing. It's a very confusing system, and the levels of the varying levels in which a vote is counted is questionable because there are certain states that have advantage over other states, right? So right over there, the playing field is not level, right?
And I said that, right?
So
So are we united if we all
yeah,
separate?
so that the systems are already put into play for there to be
Some foolery.
to be, and I don't want to add any type of controversy in me saying this, but it favors one party over another.
So they look like.
Um, but there's a system of checks and balance there because numbers can outweigh the disparity or the unlevelness. It's like a balancing scale. So while the states have um, the advantage, like Texas and different neighboring states, um, it's always the numbers that can determine the change.
All right. So if we can understand that
So
it's numbers that change things, then if you understand that, then you can understand a strike. A strike is when employees don't go to work and they're not working at all. Right. So not only
yeah.
are the employees not making money, but the corporation ain't making no money either.
Hmm.
If don't nobody vote, then who get voted in? But see, that's a situation that's going to have to come to a real thought process. You know what? Like if you really don't, or you really truly don't agree with something, why are you forced to pick that? I say
Hmm.
before, that's just like someone telling me, do I want to die in a plane crash or do I want to
Yeah.
die drowning? Both are death. I don't want to choose neither.
Yeah.
So they say, no,
And
you
I
got to
think
pick one. Well, no, there is no
yeah.
pick. You know what I'm saying? That is
Yeah.
my choice as well, to not pick, and let
Yeah.
however my life go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, when it's my
Yeah.
time, it's my time. I can't argue with that. So if it was a
Right.
plane crash, then that's what it was. If I did drown, then that's what it was. But I'm not going to jump myself in that situation. Yeah, let me go ahead and
Yeah.
drown real quick, or get in this plane. Like,
Yeah.
nah, I want to choose that. But see, as human beings, we have a choice every
Yeah.
day. Nobody make you go to work. You go to work because you need the money. But a
Sure.
lot of people in this situation now ain't making no money, ain't got no money. And a lot of people have been at home. You see what I'm saying? So now it's starting to look like a real level playing field, right? So if we can understand that and they can send money, they sent them that first package came around, they sent that out. Everybody got about $1,200, at least $1,200, right? Just about, right? And then you're going to send another one. How often can you send people $1,200? How often? How much unemployment is there before that runs out? Can unemployment run out? Saying, yeah, it can run out. But again, you print money every day. It's money that get printed that's bad. When you run in an assembly line and you run in parts, every part ain't good. I worked in a paint department, and the bumper of the car comes out, and it ain't perfectly painted all the time. It has orange peel, specks in it, dirt, scratches, all type of stuff. But there are some good parts that you take and you move. The old stuff that you can't, you grind it back up and you recycle it. You put it back in. They take the bad money and they trash it, burn it up. I feel like the bad money is the money that you should be using to do all the drug trafficking deals with when you catching up with them. When you trying to fake somebody out, you should have that real fake money in that bag, that real money that ain't nothing. Play them off with that, right? You see what I'm saying? That's just my mindset. I'm not saying that that's what they should be doing. I'm just saying, like, if you throwing money away, then why don't you use it for that purpose then? Since you taking, your finances, and why are we using drugs at all? Because if you take drugs away, just look at drugs in general. You know, the drugs that aren't sold in a store, on a street corner, those drugs are different than the drugs that are in the store, but
Yeah.
some of them carry the same substance. So in
Yeah. I mean,
essence,
just look at
they're really not
marijuana,
the same
right?
thing. You see what I'm saying?
Let's look at marijuana and the legalization of that. And right off the bat, you're seeing that because of the legalization of marijuana, you have, hemp products, right? That is being used for cooking, that is being used for medicinal reasons, right?
Right.
And they're all taxed. They're all taxed. But let's look at like years before marijuana was even legal. It was seen as a deviant drug. It was seen as something that was creating a lot of chaos and the scourge, and it was centered around people, minorities like Mexicans and African Americans. You know, it was seen as like evil. It was seen as bad. But now, all of a sudden, when it was taxed and
Right.
no longer illegal, you're starting to see it pop up everywhere, like CBD or cannabis, blah 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 blah. Hemp seeds, for cooking, and being used in you know skin products, and it's just like immediate flip side. And now it seems seemingly innocent, right? Or it's harmless. Like there's good in it, and everybody is saying, "Oh, okay, it's not so bad anymore." All because it's taxed. Because
Go back to finance.
it has
Money.
its own.
The root of it all
It's all it's
is
it's
the money.
all it's all finance. It's all finance. Because when you have so many people that are backing it with money, right? You can make it appealing.
Well, let me dig deeper into that, because the plan itself
But if it's
is
used to criminalize a particular group and make them
maybe
seem bad,
the
then
plan
that's another
itself
story.
is a good plan. It grows out the ground, right? You can do health benefit things to it.
Yeah.
Let's dive into smoking. I've smoke, and to be honest with you, um, smoking in general, the bad thing in it is actually the smoke. Smoke
Yeah.
being actually in your lungs, like you got smoke in your
Yeah.
lungs. That's a bad thing. Now you
Exactly.
take marijuana,
It's
you don't
actually
smoke
more
it, and then you
lethal
take it
to smoke
and then you put it,
cigarettes than any other thing. Yeah.
yeah, you take it and you put it in another format, and now we got something different. Like you can eat it, you can, mix it into
Yeah.
something. So now
Yeah.
it's in my body, but now I'm not smoking it. It's not in my lungs. And then you go into another part of it, but well, I'm not sober minded, but what really is sober minded, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
if I take,
I mean, but see, then ask yourself this. Ask yourself this though. All right. Let's take. We're kind of like veering off, to a different area of topic, but it's all relative because when it comes down to, it's all about health. It's all about politics. Um, you know, at the end of the day, this is all abides by the law, the people who govern and make the laws, right? Who
right,
determine what is acceptable as what's not. When you have cartoons in the like 60s, 50s, 60s, 40s, like Bugs Bunny, and you showcases the uses of cigarettes and especially youth that are cigarette, smoking, and you have a guy that's in front of you, talking to you about cigarettes, when you're watching a television program, on prime time, and it's just embedded within human nature to smoke, right?
mm-hmm,
Regardless of the fact that smoking is the leading number one is the leading cause of cancer, right? Why isn't there a huge crackdown on cigarettes, right? But there is on, you know, marijuana and everything that's like not lethal and it's actually seen as a medicinal, you know. You got to ask yourself this, but see, the systems at play, because cigarettes has been a huge funneling for money, you know, and it's rooted in history, much like gasoline, right? I mean, just we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry,
and you
cigarettes.
and I keep going back to finance, man. That, we talking about as long as
You
we
know,
can make money
but
off of it, we'll let it rip. But we're not
again,
talking
it
about
all
what it
boils down
does
to
to the actual human being. It causes problems to human beings used in the wrong format. Tobacco itself ain't bad, but tobacco mixed with what is mixed with becomes a situation. And then
yeah,
smoking becomes a bad because your lungs are actually being affected. Like that's a factual thing. Like smoking your body, that's a
yeah,
factual thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, just like so let's leave smoke alone. Let's get off of smoke and we go to another drug. Let's
yeah,
say cocaine or heroin or something like that,
mm,
right?
mm-hmm,
But you can take the
yeah,
same element that's in that and then flip it in a pill form, but then sell it over the counter and
yeah,
call it like Ritalin or
exactly,
some type of
yeah,
opioid, right?
exactly.
So, but if
I
it's
mean,
out
there
here
was
and
there was a
I'm
point
sniffing
where
it and I'm shooting it,
exactly,
it's a problem. But it's cool if I go over here again making money. But the person on the corner making money too, and
exactly,
in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
exactly,
But these pharmaceutical people making more money, right? Because they giving you the same thing that they send
yeah,
you to jail for right over the counter. You go to jail for any drug you going to jail for, they pretty
exactly,
much got over the counter
exactly,
in some pharmaceutical form. So
exactly.
that's not a fair
That's
game.
why they're in
A
cases.
fair game
Yep,
to a human life is let
yep,
me make my choice and my mistake. Whether I make the right one or the wrong one, let me make my choice. You putting up a wall against me to not allow me to make the choice that I feel like I want to make. And then on the other side of that, you know, I say you should always make the best and a positive choice. You know what I'm saying? Don't let your ego get cloudy and get involved. Just make sure you're going out there making the best choice that affects the people around you as well as yourself in the most positive manner, man. If if smoking is your thing, you know, and you got to be in a situation where like you got to spray yourself down or you got to be on the lookout for who watching or it's not a real thing to you like that, then that ain't really no real smoker because like you concerned about the surroundings of you. That means you consciously knowing that, oh yeah, this might be a factor. Oh, you're hiding. You're not even honest with yourself and saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna just blow down or smoke my cigarette. I'm gonna just walk in smelling like whatever it is, and you just gonna deal with it because that's what I wanted to do, rather than spraying it down and having a cologne fragrance on and try to mask it up instead of just dealing with what actually just happened there. Like that's a real smoker's gonna take that. They're not gonna care because they doing what they want to do. But somebody that's conscious, that you saying you going around these people and it's affecting them. So let me try to change my spin up. Wait a minute. Why are you flipping it up?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You might as well don't do it at all. Don't do it at all. Don't drink and drive. I'm a
Right.
person who's done that. That's wrong. You know what I'm saying? And went to jail for it. You know what I'm saying? Was it cool? No. But it's a learning experience and all of that. And you know what the learning experience was? Follow the laws of the land. It was a speed limit that you sped past because the street was 25 to 35 on the same street. So I was just doing 35. So yeah, I was doing wrong. But paying attention to that, you do right. Put your seatbelt on. Don't drink and drive. If you need a ride, get you a ride. Sit back, post up. You know,
Yep.
we do it all the time. It's just a regular thing in lives,
Yep.
right? And then people die from it all the time because it's like,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. Like, don't worry about it. I'm good until again something happened, and then like now you got to explain that. So yeah, it was ignorant, James, but you know what? I was still
Yeah.
blessed, and God still had me because you know what? My car didn't get towed, which it could have. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I bailed my own self out of jail. Was in there for 14 hours. And was about to walk back to my car, and my dad came up and picked me up and took me back to my car. But you know, and I'm thankful for that. That was a cool look. But I definitely was about to walk the 5 miles myself, and it was pretty cold. But I had to do that. Like that was just me. That was my fault. I couldn't really involve nobody else. Yeah, I called people from the jail to let people know what's going on. My main concern the whole time was, to actually be honest with you, my whole thing the whole time was really just trying to get back to work because I didn't want to have no points go against me and lose my job. So which goes towards the finances. You see what I'm saying? I'm rushing trying to get back and miss the whole blessing that I just had of, you know what? You was able to pay yourself out and now you moving and you can't go to work. You know what? Once I went to work, everything was cool. Nothing happened. And on top of that, the blessings I got in the aftermath of that, was actually cool. I missed out on money, but money still came my way somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like me personally, man, I feel like a human being don't have to do nothing. We don't have to do anything. You just sit there like a lump of law, don't do nothing. All right. So we all know that. So what I'm saying is if I ask you for something and you give it to me, I feel like that's a blessing because ultimately you didn't have to. Right. So if I receive that and I got it, then I'm 100% taking it as a blessing and thanking God for that because you know what? Um, Even a person you don't like will still come through and give you what you need when you believe in, what you're supposed to believe in, is, you know, be deeply rooted in faith, man. I can only speak for myself. My faith is deeply rooted, man, and nothing no one can say can take me out the mindset that I have because I just know things that I've experienced that's placed me in that position. I would be very ignorant to not give honor to God for allowing me to see those things and to go through those things. You know what, man? Um, when my mom died, man, it was like I remember June 5th. Um, June 5th. That day was going past, man. I remember going to the room and there was a lot of people up there. And at that time, like my mom was pretty much almost gone. Like her eyes was pretty much kind of rolled back and she was just kind of like gasping, holding on, kind of there. And people were saying, like, you know what? She's hanging around here because she's worried about you. So what you have to do is go over there and tell your mom you could be all right so she can just be released. I said, well, all right. So I go over to my mom and I lean into her and I say, look, I'm be straight. You ain't got to worry about nothing. I'm good. You know that. It's all good. Don't even worry about it. And I walked off. And then I went home and I was on Facebook, as a matter of fact. And while I was on Facebook, I remember around 1:40 something, maybe a little earlier. Like I remember hearing the phone ring. And then my dad came downstairs and he was like, she gone? I was like, what? He was like, yeah, your mom, she just passed. I was like, oh, all right. He was like, you all right? I was like, yep. He was like, all right. And I proceeded to get back on Facebook and I made a post saying that my mom just passed. And I put the laptop down and I laid down. As I laid down, I thought about the people that was up there at the hospice. So I put my hoodie on, put my clothes on, and I went up to the hospice. When I get to the hospice, I get there and I walk into the room and it's dead silence and the people are in there. I mean, they hurt. And I was just like, man. And then they said, you know, we just gonna let you have time with your mom. And I get in there, door shut, just me and my mom. And I looked at the body and all I could see was just, whoa, you know, and almost a shock factor. It was like, whoa. So I remember her laying there and her mouth was half open. And I walked to the right side of her and I'm on I walked to the left side of her. I'm on her left side and I sat down in the chair and I looked at her and I took my finger and I stuck my finger in her mouth like this. And I was like, whoa. Like I was really touching her like, whoa, this is like, whoa, right? And then I looked at her and said, and laughed and chuckled and said, that's not even you. So I can't even be mad. And I'm cool. I'm not even worried about it. I pulled out my sidekick, which I had, and I turned it around and I leaned in on my mom's. I took 3 selfie pictures with my mom right there. And those pictures I don't have because of that account was closed. Unfortunately, I was unable to get those photos. But the point was I sat there and I took those photos and then I sat back down next to my mom and I just began talking and I moved her hand. And if her hand felt like it was about to break when I moved it and I chuckled again, I said, oh, snap. You know, I don't want to break your hand. And I looked at her and was just like, man, but I am going to be okay. And I'm going to be straight, you know, so don't worry about it. And I'm not even worried because I know that you're not there. You actually with me now. And I'm strong enough to know that like you actually with me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not worried about it and I don't have to worry about it. So and I realized it's selfish of me to want my mother here physically with me because that is my ego telling God, you know what, you made a mistake and you wrong because I want what I want. But it ain't about what I want. It's about what God laid out and what he got. So I'm strong enough to understand that and can deal with that. So the next step after that was to get out of there. I go home and now it's going into the 7th, and the 7th is, I think I had dinner at Famous Dave's or something like that a couple family members, and I don't really remember what I did on the 7th. I think funeral arrangements was made on the 7th. I believe that's what it was. Funeral arrangements was made. I sat down and did all that, man. Pick casket out, do all that, and then the next day was my birthday, and I don't think they expected me at the funeral home. So when I showed up, they were like, and like, whoa, like we didn't think you was gonna be here. And I checked her out, and she was done up real nice, man. He took care of her, and body was looking cool. And man, I still didn't have a problem, didn't cry at all at this point, not to my knowledge. And then at the funeral on the 9th, the next day, I'm sitting on the front row, and I haven't cried yet until this point. And then someone got up and said, sorry for your loss. And I know yesterday was your birthday. And then that's when I started crying. And I feel like I'm about to cry now, because that's a real emotion of when you get your birthday and then your mom tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole world can forget, the whole world cannot care. But like when your mom call you and tell you, happy birthday, that like means something, and meant something like, oh, moms remember, Now I remember just after that, I was like, wow, like not gonna have that around no more. So I took that and I left and I went out. I went out clubbing in Novi after that, to celebrate my birthday, and got back and had to start life, man. And shortly after that, I get my first apartment after that. And my first apartment number was 20308. And that's my mom's birthday, August 23rd. So again, it's showing me like, dog, you never alone. You're never by yourself. You don't have to worry about anything. And I was able to take care of everything in that apartment on my own. Like I did it myself, well, not myself, what definitely, I was blessed in the situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's never me by myself. It's always family members and friends that come apart to help. And I'm grateful and very appreciative to everyone that was involved and still involved in my life, helping and trying to push me forward. And I realized that I might have disappointed a lot of people. I might have, looked like a loss of talent, because I have a lot of talent that people have seen over the years and probably just want to see more, just want to see me go. And unfortunately, I failed them in that aspect. But what I do want to make clear, since I have this outlet now and I have this voice, I do want to make clear that, I am a person who just wants to see the best for all people, man. I don't want to see negative things happen to anyone. And I never realized how much certain things affected me until they actually happened. Like I would ignore and block out a lot of things because it would just wasn't necessary. And then, certain things will happen, and then it's an inside thing where it felt like it touched me. Like it was an irritation that strong that like felt me, and I react a certain way. And then after that time period was over, I sit and I think like, why did you react like that? That was completely ignorant of you to act like that. But it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Don't act like that. Don't carry yourself out like that. So what I want to do is just be a leading example for someone who has given up on anything that they wanted to do. Um, I did go to the Art Institute of Philadelphia at 2001. I did not graduate. I was 18 years old, living downtown Philadelphia, which is at that time was the sixth largest city in the United States. And me walking around downtown, walking everywhere was a phenomenal experience to me, because I wanted to come to Pennsylvania because I like the Philadelphia. I like the skyline. I like skylines and skyscrapers and bridges and airplanes and stuff like that. That's just me. So I liked it how it looked. So I want to come. And then while walking around Philadelphia, I'm really, really soaking up the real history that it has. I'm walking past the Liberty Bell. I'm seeing how Thomas Jefferson and them set up this whole thing that we got here, and then I do further knowledge, and then I look at Pennsylvania itself comes from William Penn. Then William Penn actually started this state on, Christian values and views. And he actually wanted everyone to be equal and for everybody to have their own and everybody have their own different cut, man. That was his standard. That was his hookup. He very well may had other things going on with him, just like I do and everyone else does. There's no flawless person walking around here, but the core essence of me definitely wants to put the most positive thing forward at all times, man. And I'm definitely want to be person to say you gotta hold people accountable for their actions at all times. And how I deal with certain things is I like to deal with them immediately. Like if it's a problem, then we can just talk that out and see what the problem really was, and then we can move forward from there. Right now in my life, I can't speak on like the past of how I was, but currently in my life, like, and it's been this way for a while, but just speaking right now, like I just definitely want the most positive thing forward because that's all we can do. And we have to stick together as people, not just as some black people, some white people, some Asian people, some Indian people, some native people. No, all people, all human beings, man, just have to stick together at all times because when you think about it, when you go to your work and you go to your job, you are working with other people. That's a team. So we, the team, make things happen. And then when we go out there and we we vote like we supposed to, and I don't vote at all. The last time I voted, and the only time I voted was to legalize marijuana in Michigan. But I've been listening, and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do my part and play my position and vote for what my people believe in because I'm humble enough to say, you know what, even if it's something that you don't understand, James, or that you don't agree with, then at least do it for them. And so I'm gonna go out there and do what's right for them. Whether I agree with it or not, I'm gonna rock with them because it means something to them. And for the rest of the people, I just hope they understand that regardless of who you vote for or what side you vote for, it still come down to that mirror. When you look in yourself in the mirror and you can't tell the truth, you walk outside false to the world. And it's a lot of false in the world, and we can't allow that anymore. Like you have to be honest with yourself and really come to terms to let your ego go and be humble because even egos come down. They got to land sometimes, and your ego will allow you to get dropped real quick. And you got to also start worrying about finances and where money coming from. You have to know that when you put it in the work, finances are going to come. And it's a difference between your needs and what you want. A lot of people want a lot of things, but what do you really need? You really need a roof over your head. You really need transportation. You really need clothes. You really need food. Anything outside of that really is just a bonus thing added to what you really want, because we sit up
Yeah.
here in this country and we argue over healthcare. In my eyes, I feel like you shouldn't pay for healthcare at all. You shouldn't have to pay for healthcare. If it's a problem that's wrong with you, you go in there and get it fixed, and then you send me the bill. Send me the bill for it. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me because I don't have no insurance, then I don't get paid. Or I mean, excuse me, that I don't get help. Because meanwhile, the insurance companies, they coming up. If nothing ever happens to me for 50 years and I've been paying insurance money for 50 years, you got all of my insurance money. I don't get no cutback check that say, you know what, man, you've been pretty healthy, man. We gonna cut you some of your bread back. How about when I have a situation, you tax me then, and then I'll pay you. And then we get on a payment plan like that. You see what I'm saying? We pay as we go. Like, why do I have to prepay you for
Yep.
something that hasn't happened? So now I'm uh,
Yeah.
um guessing something to happen. But see, that money that I'm prepaying, that money is taking it, and you're doing that 10,000 times, and now you got a lump sum. That same concept is a bank. That same concept is a stock market. That same concept is if five people was in the house and everybody had $100 and they put it all in the pot, now it's $500. That's what we doing. And then we go take the next round and we do that. It takes multiple people for you to move forward and gain what needs to be gained from you. You see what I'm saying? In order for you to progress forward, you have to
Yeah.
understand that you have to work with others. And what I feel like a lot of black people gotta stop doing, if you really on that like black talk, like black empowerment talk, and black people need to stick together type talk. Like if you really on that talk and you talking black financial gain and all this, like I feel like you can't even have a black financial gain conversation with anybody unless your money is in a black bank. That starts right there.
Yeah.
When
I
your money in the
think.
black bank, then you can move forward, and then now we can discuss how we finna financially gain things. If you on that
Mm,
talk, I felt that talk, but then I realized again, we all human beings, so
yeah.
we all need to have our money in a situation where we could just be able to help each other, like regardless
Yeah.
of who it is. I ain't gonna call this a black podcast and then block
Mm,
out, other races from coming in
yeah.
here. Like that's dumb. You see what I'm
I
saying?
think
Like situation.
what you're hitting on, James, is the fact that at the end of the day, we're just human beings, and we all experience, levels of hurt. You know, um, some people have had traumatic experiences since in their childhood. There are some people who were absolved of it. So with that, I think empathy is what's needed. Is or at the very least sympathy. If you can't put yourself into somebody else's shoes, at least understand where the other person's coming from, which again, it boils down to listening. Even though you may not be present with them, you still are attentive to what they're saying. You know, because at the end of the day, we do want to be heard. We want to have a voice. Um, and so, in dealing with the personal losses, you know, it shakes our core, and it takes time to really heal from that. You know, because you still deal with uh, the phantom memories. The things that are presented to you that triggers memories of the person that has been lost. Um, and so in dealing with the loss of a loved one, you're grieving the fact that that person is no longer physically present in your life. But there's also the grief that there's always going to be the remnants of memory, which is comforting, but at the same time, it creates a space of sadness, you know. And so
When you
what I
sad,
learned what I learned from that is the fact that sadness isn't necessarily a bad thing,
no,
because it's a reminder of what makes us human.
it's real.
and
Like I almost just
and it
cried right now. That was real. I ain't hold that back. That was a really like I don't block real emotions. You can't avoid a real emotion, but a lot of people give you fake ones all the time. They
yeah,
give you like you know being really fake mad. I feel like if you really mad at
yeah,
somebody and you really don't agree with them, then you just don't deal with them. That's it.
yeah,
You ain't gotta attack their family. You ain't gotta attack their history, heritage, nothing. You just don't deal with them. Just stay over
yeah,
there. I'm gonna stay over here because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we still got to move around. I might bump into you one day, but hey, man, we don't have to have no conversation. That's it. Just keep going. Like,
Yeah.
it's always this one up thing. It's always I gotta show you, I'm stronger. You got the alpha male
Yeah.
thing they say, man. But alpha is beginning, right? So what happens when the alpha run into the omega person? The
Yeah.
omega person is the ending, right? Right? Omega means
Yeah.
end, right? Is end. So what if that person's the ender? So alpha
Yeah.
being like, yeah, I'm big and bad, but now here's this omega person over here saying clearing all this out. For what? And where those terms even come from? Just be scientifically looking in our DNA and our system and say, oh man, you have this, so it makes you this. Like, no, you still accountable for you, man. You didn't have to turn up a flex or do any of that at all. What's the point? What is really the point? Even was the point to when you say something crazy, somebody say it to my face. I mean, if you immediately not coming with the jab or something like that, like what was the point of telling them say it to my face? Only so you could do what? Get it said to you a second time. Like if you was really going to react, you would have reacted off the first time. It wouldn't took a second time because you heard it clearly the first time. But see, you wanted an extra push. So people want a reason to do something, which tells me you didn't really want to do it. Because if you wanted to, it'd just been instant reaction. Boom. With no thought process. Triggered. Boom. A blackout experience. Like, whoa, what just happened? But then you thought about it and said, no, he didn't say that. Say that again. And then you registered. Now you got to make a move. So what move are you making? To go create some damage to somebody because you got damaged, your emotions got bruised, so you
Yeah.
felt away. Instead of walking away, you decided to stay there and engage in something that you didn't have no business engaging with.
Yeah.
So the thing is with
And
me, like,
it really bottles down to healing, because if you don't heal, you put yourself and the other person who you're in close proximity, who you're close to, at risk because you know you you could say something or do something that would hurt the other person. It's like you know
I mean, I feel like people don't want to
how,
really
how,
hurt you
how,
intentionally, but here's a
no,
here's
no,
here's
not
the
it's
thing.
not it's not intention it's not intentional,
I got a
but
question.
but the fact
So
that you're hurt, but
I
the
don't.
fact that when you're hurting, you can unknowingly enact pain on the other person
Yeah,
based upon your own hurt,
and that's going into what I'm
so
about to say
that's
now.
usually what. Yeah.
So where I
And so
let's
and
just
so
say
and
let's just say I don't know what your level of respect is. I believe I said this in the last podcast. I don't know what your level of you felt is disrespect to you is without being told. So when the disrespect happens, the reaction
yeah,
comes from I'm just reacting like, yo, I shouldn't have did that and I'm about
yeah,
to do this instead of saying, you know what, hold up. Right then and there, when you said XYZ and you did XYZ, that right there, that ain't cool. We ain't playing that over here. So please don't do that anymore. Now you
right,
do it again. Now you are
exactly.
disrespectful
And see,
at that point. When you have done it the second time, you are
and see,
disrespectful.
and see, and
I
see,
told you first
yeah, yeah.
on whatever that may be.
In essence, that's what a boundary is. And I think that's where the person, and I feel like this is all relative to politics. You have to have strong guidelines that do not create harm or cause a disadvantage for a particular group. But you do have these laws that are put in place that do cause a lot of harm. There are a lot of policies, you know, that favor one particular group over another based on economy, right? With regards to the healthcare systems, you know. But I mean, you can go on and on and on and on and on, and how, medicine is being stratified, based upon your HMO or your insurance, whereas people who don't have insurance don't have access to these privileges, right? Of good health care, whereas those who have pre-existing conditions are more at risk of falling or dying than people who don't, right?
Right.
And they don't have access to their premiums. But going back to the whole notion of you don't know what your levels of respect is, I think that's where it's left to the individual to be able to address it in a way that the person who has caused the hurt is aware, and it's done in a way that you are showcasing or displaying where you stand, what your values are with regards to the situation. That's what is called creating a healthy boundary, so that person is aware of what makes you uncomfortable, what you don't agree with, and how that person or situation has affected you, right? But
Yeah. Having that conversation.
then you then have to ask yourself, how is it that I can bring this up without being confrontational? But see, again, that's where you as an individual have to ask yourself, am I going to try to, do it in a way that's just like completely blanketed off with regards to not trying to be offensive and whatnot? Or am I just going to just be blunt and say, you know what, hey, there was an offense that was happened. This person needs to know about it. I don't care how it come across. I'm not a people pleaser, right? So there are people that are conflict avoiders that don't want to get involved, aka the people who choose not to vote or choose not to, put their 2 cents in because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to bear the responsibility of a policy, you know, being put in play, and then that policy winds up backfiring or turns out to be something problematic more so than it is, or a catalyst for something detrimental. Therein lies that fear of the what ifs, right? You know, and again, that really is why people are at a standstill. Why there's a high level of stagnancy, you know, of people that are just not moving or being immobile, or being stuck, mentally and even physically, right? You're stuck in this one position where you can't move, you can't make a decision, you can't act because the fact that you're so caught up in these dialogues that are like streamlined in your head as far as what could happen. What if, you know, and it's all fear. And I feel like this is what is being pushed in the forefront, is the fact that there is this fear. There's this fear about this, the potential civil war. There's this fear of voter suppression. There's this fear of oppressive groups that are trying to disenfranchise people that are vocal for this one candidate versus another. There's a lot of fear put into play. There's the fear of the COVID. There's the fear of, people, right? of being around a lot of groups. There's a lot of fear that is impacting people's decision making, right? So how do you, as an individual, come to terms with this, right? In dealing with a lot of people who are not on the same lines as you in terms of belief. Because let's face it, not everyone's going to see things the way you see it. Not everyone's going to have that same perspective, because they might have not experienced what you've experienced. They might not have, seen the things that you've seen, right? But how do you make them see things your way? And the answer is you can't. You can't make somebody do that, But what you can do is control yourself. Have healthy boundaries. Let people know where you stand so that they can definitely come to terms with it on their own accord, but at the same time, they know where you stand, and that's where having a strong foundation comes into play. Because if you don't have a strong foundation, that's not rock solid. Then you're a pushover.
Right.
Then you become the weak one, right? You become wishy-washy, as they say. You're vacillating. You're hot and cold. You're not. Like you're this one way, and then you're that another way. You're easily swayed by popular opinions, by situations when things don't go a certain way. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to situations that are beyond your control? How do you respond to things that are presented to you? When someone does you wrong, or when something comes, or when you're attacked by something and it's not even something that you're responsible for. And how do you deal with public scrutiny? How do you deal with a lot of things that are thrown at you? When somebody pushes you or puts you under a bus, or tries to take advantage of you, in a certain situation, like at the workplace, or even in a church setting, or a school setting, or an institution you're a part of. Like, how do you deal with disappointment from people? Because it's inevitable that people will disappoint you, that people will let you down. But how do you respond to that, I think, is what defines a person,
And how I choose to respond to that is I don't put my faith in no human being.
There you go.
I don't put no faith in a human being at all, because I know that they make mistakes and I make mistakes.
Yeah.
And the mistake I make could be looked at as bad to someone else, but it might have not been looked that bad to me. Like I might not feel like I did that wrong, but to them it was. So if they're telling me that no, it was that bad, then I have to make adjustments on that to say, you know what, well, in that sense, since it was bad to you, then yeah, I was wrong, and I apologize for that. And moving forward, we're not going to allow that to happen anymore.
Exactly.
People that are racist for what reason? Like, why do you hate another person or prejudice? Like, we prejudice. Everyone's prejudiced. Prejudice is not agreeing with something that you ain't even tried. So, I say I don't like ham hocks. How you know?
Yeah.
Prejudice gets ham hocks, but
Exactly.
but then if you take that same prejudice to another level, you're like, well, I don't really have to eat ham hocks, like I don't want that. So now someone can say, you know what, I just never wanted a black person, around. You know, so now you're wondering like, okay, so why didn't you never want a black person around? Well, why didn't you ever want to eat ham hock? You know, so it's those same type of things. Again, I couldn't pay no faith in a human being. So what a human is going to do is what they go do. However, if that same human being that cannot like me, God got the power to have that person around me to deal with me.
Yeah.
Even though they don't want to. So I know if you around me and you don't like me, furthermore tells me that God is real because you don't even like who I am, but you got to deal with me and you're around me. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't have to be. You see what I'm saying? Why do you have to tolerate it again? And why do people tolerate, you know, being in places where is overwhelmingly uncomfortable? Like, you know, however, you can still stick it through that too with, again, that faith that I'm talking about, because you may feel it's uncomfortable, but it's a message being sent that you missing, that you don't even know, because you worried about the conditions in the situation and not really knowing that your blessing is coming from over here. You see what I'm saying? So you'll walk out, you know, a situation not even knowing that it was some good that you were supposed to get in that. And every situation is supposed to happen for your good, right? You're supposed to look at it all with the positive. So again, Democrat, Republican, two negatives, quote unquote, as people say, right? Let's say they're two negatives. So how do I make it positive? So I say, okay, one side says they're going to do X, Y, Z, and then the other side said they're going to do A, B, C. And which one do I want to go with? It's just your human choice of what side you pick. But that don't take away from the human responsibility that you have for yourself to actually put in work to actually help you and the people around you in a positive matter, regardless of what legislation may ever get rolled up. That don't take away from you being a human being that actually wants the best for the people around them. And I'm not going to sit up here and say so many people that don't operate like that. I'm going to only work with what's working. And that's just the people that agree with that. That's all you can do. The negative would just be stuck wherever it's at. Like, I don't have to pick that up. My name is James. So if you're calling me Jonathan, I'm not responding. You know, hey, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan with that M hat. Jonathan with the M hat. Like, I have an M hat, but I can't double question myself. Like, am I Jonathan? I know I'm James. Like, so they just don't know who they're talking to. And I'm not even going to say, are you talking to me? Because, you know, if you're talking to me, you could come up, hey, excuse me, what's your name? That's talking to me. Excuse me, what is your name?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's how we figure that out. But see, you can't put yourself on some type of plateau when we all looking at each other, regardless of height, color, or gender.
Yeah.
Like, we just are human beings. You know what I'm saying?
We are. Yep.
And what you choose to do in your life is what you choose. But when it affects other people, you are wrong. And when it affects other people in a negative manner, you are wrong. When you do what you do and it affect you, that should be called a learning experience. And you should learn from that. You should not do it again. But when you're doing it and it affects people around you negatively, you are wrong. It's a lot of wrong.
Exactly. I think that's a really good point. On right now is the fact that, you know, it all amounts to accountability. You know, there's only certain amount that you as an individual can do. But if you have a great support system around you, you know, people that are in your corner that truly love and care about you, and vice versa, you know, it just goes to show that you truly are never alone, you know.
Never.
So with that, you're not, because even when you think you're alone, and this is something I learned, you know, God is always going to be there for you, and somebody is thinking about you and praying for you when you're not even aware, you know. And that's the honest to goodness truth, that there's somebody that you've been impacted in such a way, whether you realize it or not, that is thinking about you, that wants good for you, you know,
Yeah.
whether you realize it or not. So if you have that mindset and knowing that you're loved and that you're cared for, you know, you're immediately setting yourself up to allow yourself to be loved and to be able to reciprocate that, you know. It may not be in a very major form, you know, that is visible to like the average person, you know, because love has the varying parameters, you know.
Yeah.
You can show love, you know, in action. It doesn't have to be solely by words, but and knowing, I mean, just by praying for somebody, right? You know, or wishing well for somebody, or doing something, you know, just an act of kindness, a random act of kindness, you know, they call it paying it forward, right? Where you do something and then you ask that other person to do something in turn for another person, right? I think that's a cycle of love um that is to be had, you know. And the fact that you don't have to showcase it or you know, put it on blast that you've helped the homeless, or that you've given like money to you know, complete stranger. You don't necessarily, you don't have to let the whole world know, you know. Never let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, I think that's the saying.
Right.
Or yeah, so it's just like, you know,
I
it's
give a
not.
situation where
Love has varying measures, you know. It's not just one absolute. It's continuous, like water. It's ever flowing. And that's why Jesus constantly uses the metaphor, or the analogy, or the imagery of water, because water is synonymous with love, you know, with the blood flow, right? You know, which was what Jesus shed, right? His blood, you know,
right,
and it's, but you know, but the blood of Jesus that were healed, you know, like water, because of his love, because of his unconditional love, that is fluid. It's not hard. It's not a gas. It's fluid. It's flowing, you know, and it comes
so
in large volumes. So with that, to end on that, I feel like as long as we have a profound understanding of each other, and showcase love, regardless of who you are voting for, you know, then I think we're setting ourselves to be decent human beings.
mhm.
Yeah.
on
So
a on a note of that, Jesus also teaches you, like you just said, love, man. There's an example again. He rode with 12 people. Out of those 12 people, two of them, he told straight up, you know, hey, you go turn and you go pretty much snitch. Another person that was over there was doubtful, very doubtful. So that tell me the circle that you keep, one of those people are go telling you at some point, you know, and one of those people are going to deny you at some point,
yeah.
and another person is not going to believe what you say you go do until they physically see you actually do it.
Yep.
Not only
The
that,
Down Thomases. Yep.
not
They
only
want
that is
empirical
that
scientific evidence. Yep.
the one who ratted died. All right, sold me out for a bag. You died. You know. The other person was real humble to understand. Like, wow. I mean, I didn't realize that was going down. But how many times do we get in a situation where we out committing a crime, we robbing a bank, they catch you, not me, and they got us on video, and man, who is that? Is that anonymous? Like, I don't know anonymous. I don't know who that is, but that's you on the tape with anonymous. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, so even when evidence is clear, like you still, like, man, like the point in all of that is when you come out and you be honest and you be truthful and you become held accountable for that action that you took, all of the rest of the stuff will play itself out for the better of you. You know what I'm saying? You understand whether you got to do some time or not. Like, that was a choice you made to get involved in that situation. You just got to own up to that situation. And you know what? While you in jail or prison, might be a cakewalk for you. You know what I'm saying? Might not even be a bad situation at all, but you might have to get sat down for a minute for God to show you some things. Like, hey, man,
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you
And
this.
that's why we can't, it's funny you mentioned the prison systems, but you see a lot of reform happening, So, and then a lot of opportunities for people who were, under those constraints. So God doesn't look at you and think, that there's not to be change. I mean, we've all had our forms of transformation, right? Some, are still going through that, method of change, you know,
Right.
and in the Reformation. So with that, at the end of the day, you're not answering to man, you're answering to God. Because ultimately, God is the one who is doing the transformation. So
So if we can understand that,
yeah,
then you got to understand your part of playing the role of being accountable for your actions and doing the right things and working like you're working for God and not
yeah,
worrying about your finances and not
yeah,
worrying about your situation and outcome and not having
yeah,
fear. Don't fear
yeah.
anything. Don't fear no man. Don't fear no.
Exactly.
Don't
Not not
love
not
this.
trusting in
You
your
know what I'm saying?
security, but
Don't.
knowing that God is the one who's got you,
Yeah.
and that
And
He's the one that is allowing you to be a steward of the blessing. It's not the other way around, right? It's not you. It's based upon what God allows, you know.
and then how can we be of service? The greatest
Yeah.
gift to a human being is being a servant
Yeah, a lot
because
of people a lot of
you're
people miss that part. Like how can
here to
I
serve.
be of service? How can I be used? How can I be an instrument or a vessel for somebody else?
In a
That's
positive
that's
manner.
that's the part where a lot of people miss it out.
Yeah.
Like so good talks, brother. I really
Yeah, man. I'm gonna
appreciate
close
this.
this out. I'm gonna close this out in a prayer, man.
Yep.
And then check you next time.
Sounds good, brother.
uh God, I'd like to thank you for giving me this voice to be able to speak and reach people that I probably never would have reached. I'm thankful and grateful for everything that you've blessed me with. And I'm grateful for you giving me the strength to be able to sit here and just be able to do this because I didn't even feel like doing this podcast today. I had all sorts of things going through my mind, but you made it happen. You made it possible to give me the strength and just to make it happen. And I'm here and I'm asking you to just strengthen the country, strengthen this nation. I ask that you would just soften the hard hearts of people out there who don't believe. I ask that you would just strengthen the mindsets of everyone with your wisdom and your knowledge. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everything that you've done, you're doing, and going to do. I also want to ask for forgiveness for any sin that I've committed and to repent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, all right, brother. Good talking with you. Thanks for having me on the show. Until next time.
All right. Peace.
Peace.